Thank you very much for staying with us. Let's settle for the details of our stories now, starting with issues relating to corruption. The Corruption Perception Index, which is the CPI, has dropped Ghana's ranking in Africa from the 6th position in 2015 to the 9th for 2017, scoring 47 points out of 100 in 2016. Globally, the country placed 70 out of 176 countries, including, especially for that of 2016 index. The CPI 2016 used 9 out of 13 data sources of independent institutions with a high level of credibility to compute the index for Ghana. Botswana and Cape Verde maintained their position as the number 1 and number 2 on the continent of Africa after scoring 60 and 59 respectively in the latest rankings. The Transparency International sponsored initiative was released on Wednesday, January 25, 2017, which is actually today. The Transparency International statement said this year, the CPI shows that Ghana's performance has dropped by 4 percentage points from its 2015 score of 47 points. This score is the lowest in Ghana's CPI score since 2012, when the CPI score became comparable and started considering Ghana. And we have been joined via Skype by Madam Linda Ofori Kwafo. She is the Executive Director for the Ghana Integrity Initiative, which is the local chapter of the GII, of the International Transparency Agency. She's joined us on via Skype to help us understand how relevant this is and what can be done as a country in resolving this particular issue. Madam, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers.
All right, to start with, there are those who are saying this is just a perception index, not necessarily the reality. So why should we take a perception of corruption serious when it is not necessarily the reality?
Thank you for your question. When you talk about the Corruption Perception Index, it is an index that aggregates a number of different sources that provides perception of business people and country experts on the level of corruption within a country's public sector and how well the country is working towards managing or reducing that canker. So if you talk to business people and country experts, they are people who have come into your country to do business. So they might have interacted with your your JIPC. They might have actually interacted with your tax institutions. They might have worked with the Registrar General to register their business. There are people who have had direct experiences of doing business in Ghana. Their perception wouldn't just be perception. We call it perception because it's very difficult to do an empirical study on corruption. If I ask you, how much have you paid so far as corruption is concerned, even during last year, you wouldn't be ready to tell me. So the closest you can come to is to take perception surveys. And these are surveys of views of people that have engaged in doing business in your country. So perceptions are really, really very important when it comes to the assessment on corruption and how well a country is doing.
Right, and how does this perception, as you have defined it, fit into the fact of fighting corruption in general? Do you think that based on the corruption, we have done enough effort in fighting corruption?
What the CPI 2016, which is a composite index, tells us here in Ghana is that for some time now we've been progressing. So we were, in 2012, we were 45 out of 100. From a clean score of 100, we got 45 percentage points. In 2013, we went to 46 points. In 2014 was the highest the country has ever gotten, and that was 48 percentage points. Then in 2015, we dropped one point. And in 2016, we have actually dropped by 4 points. What it simply means is that the people that were surveyed are saying that Ghana has not been able, there was so much corruption during the period that we're talking about, and also when it comes to the management of fighting or dealing with it, the government, the people, and the institutions in Ghana were not able to address the canker. What it means is that as a country, we were not able to sustain our gains, the efforts we have put in place, the institutions that we have, the numerous legislations that we have, the advocacy that we do. We were not able to sustain that. And there are a number of instances that actually can give us the picture of why our CPI score is this way. And I'm sure you are in Ghana and you get to know the numerous allegations of corruption and those that were not properly investigated and people who perpetrated punished, the Basri Brandon, the Wayo Mix case, the judicial corruption scandal. All these things fuel the perception of people. And so when they are asked about how is it like to do business in Ghana, how is it like to settle your issues in the courts, these are some of the things that will influence why they will say there's corruption in Ghana and why they will say there's no corruption in another country. So other countries are performing well, even in Africa. Botswana keeps on performing very well, and we also perform better than other countries. So our CPI score tells us that we have to do more. We have countries like Mauritius, Rwanda, Namibia, Sao Tome, and the rest performing better than us. It is also very important to state that actually in this year, a number of countries declined, especially countries in the Middle East region. So Qatar was the worst decliner of about 10 percentage points. But other countries also gained, even a neighboring Nigeria. Even though our CPI score is still better than Nigeria, Nigeria gained by 2 points, meaning they might be doing something that we are not doing. We are not actually saying that Ghana has not done anything. Ghana has put in place some measures, but Ghana's effort at fighting corruption actually was not impressive in the year 2016.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Linda Ofori Kwafo, for your explanation and your insights. We are grateful to you. She is the Executive Director for the Ghana Integrity Initiative.